Yo guys, it's Slaro. You already know that today I am bringing you guys my Pokemon Premier League Season 3 draft recap and analysis. I'm so excited to be bringing you guys this video because obviously this means that the PPL is starting back up. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this for a while. We ended last season on such a good note. We finished in 4th place that I am so ready to take our game to the very top. And I'm so excited to bring you guys this team that I ended up drafting that I think is going to take us to the top. Mark my words, we are going to the top. That is what the season is about, and that is what we're going to do. But of course I'm here to bring you this video to go over the draft, what happened in the draft, what I ended up drafting, and I'm going to take you round by round to kind of put you in my thought process for while I was drafting, why I drafted what I drafted, and then my overall analysis of the team, which will probably go over more at the end of it once you see my entire team. So yes, the Pittsburgh Pyroar are coming back for Season 3. PPL starts very soon. Uploads will be this Saturday. I'm so excited for this. Let's go ahead and get into the team and get into the thought process. So, without wasting any time, because I know I'm going to ramble a whole lot. So, if you don't like rambling, I'm sorry. Then you probably don't know me very well by now. But, either way, going into the draft, I had made a couple draft plans. However, I want to say within the week leading up to the draft, I decided to focus on one draft plan. I had the 8th overall pick, so I pick 8th, and then it's a snake draft. It gets to the end, and then it comes back to me. So I'm kind of in the middle. 8th is the same place that I drafted from last season. I really think there's a conspiracy going on that is going to not let me not draft in the middle, because I think season 1 I drafted like 6th or 7th, and so I'm just always stuck in the middle. But okay, it's fine, whatever, you know, I get it. But, given this information, there was just a couple of Pokemon that I was just kind of looking to get. And I decided that I was going to kind of base my draft plan off of the first couple Pokemon that I really wanted to get. The draft plan that I decided that I wanted to go with, and that I finalized on, basically involved me getting Mega Altaria and Jirachi as my first and second pick. That was the plan. I thought those two Pokemon really complement each other really well. I get a Fairy, a Dragon, and a Steel type all in 2 picks, and I can move on to other parts of my draft really quickly after the first 2 picks, and I can start working on maybe a Fire, Water, Grass core, and I can just work on a lot of other offensive things in general. And basically my whole draft plan, I went back to what I know best about planning and drafting and playing, and that's getting Pokemon that can be both offensive and defensive, with as many Pokemon getting self-recovery moves as possible and then working around that. So, taking that into account, I drafted a very Slaro team, and that is what I love so much about this draft. This is such a Slaro team. This is a good team for me. So, however, this was not like last season. Last season, I was able to get through the entire draft without getting sniped once. I did not have the same luck this season. So, as I said, my first 2 picks, I was planning on having Mega Altaria and Jirachi. However, with the 7th overall pick in the draft, Fufu, Sam, of all people, picked Jirachi. And this put me into a really interesting predicament. Jirachi, I was planning on having to be my second pick, but now it was taken before I even got my first pick. So I was left with a really important decision. Do I still want to take Mega Altaria and try and find a different Steel type and kind of work around that still? Or do I want to go with maybe a different backup plan or a different Mega that I really wanted to try and go in a different direction and just kind of wing the draft from there? And I was really debating back and forth. I almost picked Mega Venusaur. That was actually another Mega that I was really close to considering. But at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? We'll find a backup to Jirachi. The main one in my head was Bronzong. I was just like, you know what, Steel Psychic type, it gets rocks, it does some of the things that I want it to do, we're gonna do it. So with the first pick, my first pick, I picked Mega Altaria. Now, Mega Altaria is a very interesting case for me, because I've never used it. Mega Altaria is a mon that many people will tell you is very hard to use correctly in draft format. That you need to bring the right set, it can win you the game, or it can lose you the game. I have seen people have pretty negative experiences with Mega Altaria. I have I went against Raikou using a Mega Altaria in Season 1, to which it was pretty easy to take down. I know last season Alex, Onesie Bennett, had Mega Altaria and he dropped it because he just was not satisfied with it. So this is a big risk, but I really think that I can use it, mostly because I don't use Mega Altaria. This is one of those Pokemon that, because I've never used Mega Altaria, I don't think I'm going to be very predictable with it. I think there's, like, literally every single door that Mega Altaria has will be open to me. Its entire moveset is very explorable. Every little gimmicky thing it can do, I will have the access to try and use. Of course, it gets Dragon Dance, it gets Pixelate, Hyper Voice, or Return. I believe it gets Hyper Voice anyway. It's one of those things. It gets Roost, it gets Heal Bell, and then it gets pretty good coverage moves, as well as some also pretty gimmicky moves. It gets Cotton Guard, things like that. So there's a lot of different things that I can do, plus its typing is just really, really good. So that's what I decided to do. I wanted Mega Altaria, and I took it. So, also, I forgot, I should bring up my thing with the team names. So you know what, I'm actually going to do that, so I can tell you about the nicknames for my Pokemon this season. I believe, I don't remember, Mega Altaria's nickname is, I don't want to get it wrong, I think it's Bushnell, because the creator of Atari, his name is like Nolan Bushnell, so Ataria Bushnell, you know what, it kind of makes sense, you know, don't question it. I like to have pretty unique nicknames, and that's what I really went for with my nickname. So now that I have that up, so the first pick, Mega Altaria. Now, round 2. So, here's the situation that I'm in. I wanted Jirachi, it's not available. I'm not going to pick Bronzong round 2, because that's just stupid. Okay, well, let's look at what I would have for my 3rd round pick. Okay, well, Infernape, I could take that 2nd round. Oh, wait. Kelly, under the radar, with the 10th pick in the draft, 2 picks after us, picks Infernape. Okay, well, there goes that. Let's look at what I have for round 4 of the draft. And because Jirachi was going to be 2nd, Infernape was kind of like, if it's still there, I'll take it. If not, there's so many other backups. And the same thing happened with what I had for round 4 of the draft, which was what we ended up picking. So with the 2nd pick of the draft for us, we picked Weavile. So, this is pretty fun, because obviously Weavile was not going to last to the 4th round. I thought that maybe people would have kind of forgotten about it. Weavile is one of those that I originally had Crawdon on my draft plan, because nobody ever drafts Crawdon. I don't know why. It's freaking amazing. I wanted a strong dark type. It was something that I really lacked last season, and it's something that I really wanted this season. I wanted strong knockoff. That's what I wanted. And Weavile was just like, it has a lot of speed, it has a really nice ice typing with Ice Shard, and it has pretty decent move coverage to hit a lot of things. So I really like Weavile. It's a mon that I'm a big fan of, and I have used a decent amount in standard play, so I'm really excited to use Weavile. Weavile's name is Dawn, because for some reason Weavile weighs the same amount as Dawn, so Weavile's going to be a girl all season. So that's a fun fact, PokeFacts 101. And I'm really happy that I was able to grab Weavile now, because another thing that Weavile really helps me with is that it makes the opponent's team building pretty predictable. There's only a few solid counters to Weavile, and I know what they are, and therefore I'm going to know what my opponent has to bring to stop Weavile, and then that's already eliminating one of the mysteries that my opponent can bring. So I don't want to like give away like all kind of like team building strats, but basically I know what Weavile counters are. I know what people are going to have to bring to counter Weavile, therefore I can bring something else on my team to counter the Weavile counter, and it just makes team building that much easier for me. Weavile also gives me a lot of speed, so I have speed this season. Last season I got criticized quite a bit for not having speed. Right now I have speed and priority. And Dragon Dance on Mega Altaria to make that fast too, so I just kind of have everything going for me right now. But yeah, so if I hadn't got sniped, I probably wouldn't have gotten Weavile. The whole theme of this draft is I didn't get my ideal draft, but I think I ended up with a better one as a result, so that's kind of fun. So we got Weavile. I don't think there's anything more to say about that. I do know that I sniped Jack, and I don't know if anybody else was looking at Weavile, but they did not get it. As a result, so now we move into round 3. So, obviously at this point, my round 3 pick was going to be Infernape. I decided not to pick a fire type for my second pick, and I'm pretty glad I didn't, because between round 2 and 3, there were 0 fire types taken. I think in the entire first 3 rounds, the only fire types that were taken were Victini and Infernape. And that's it. Those are the only 2 fire types taken. And then I was kind of looking. So my backups to Infernape, I could have gotten Emboar. Emboar is a mon that I really kind of liked. Because, you know, it's firefighting and there's like no switch into an Emboar that exists in Pokemon. However, I've had Emboar on my team in the TBU for the team that I've taken over, and I find team building with it to be kind of difficult. So I was just like, well, maybe not. Maybe I can get another hard hitter, and I can get Darmanitan. It's faster, and it's, you know, it hits hard. Again, I know what Darmanitan counters are as well, and that'll also eliminate another, you know, another bit of mystery on my opponent's team. So I really, really heavily considered Darmanitan. But then I noticed, okay, our draft plan is already just kind of going to crap right now. What if I take this mon that, in my opinion, is the best overall fire type in draft format? That's quite a bold statement to say, because I know people disagree with that. But with the third pick, I picked Bay. Arcanine, Hipster Entei, is making a return to the Pittsburgh Pyroar. Oh my gosh, Season 1 Arcanine was a staple to my teams. Arcanine, I decided, was a really good fit for this team because things that can take on Mega Altaria and Weavile, Arcanine can just shut down. Arcanine is such a good defensive mon in draft format with the Intimidate, with the options for Will-O-Wisp, that it's so good. You know, fighting types that want to come in on Weavile, I switch into Arcanine. What is a fighting type going to do to an Arcanine? They're going to do absolutely nothing, and then they're going to fear getting burned, and then they have to switch into a Flare Blitz. It's kind of the same thing that, you know, if I had an Emboar with like a Flare Blitz, or Darmanitan with like a Flare Blitz, it's still kind of the same thing. Arcanine's Flare Blitz obviously does not hit quite as hard, but I know from experience that any Pokemon that does not resist Flare Blitz is going to take a lot of damage from it, even without offense investment on my Arcanine. So, Arcanine is something that is one of my favorite Pokemon, probably my favorite Pokemon of all time, easily my favorite Pokemon to use in draft format. I saw that it was available round 3, and I was looking for a fire type. There was no way I was passing up this opportunity, because it was either get Arcanine, as also Chandelure was another one that I was kind of debating as well, but none of those felt like round 3 picks to me. I didn't feel like those were round 3 picks that I wanted to make. So I picked Arcanine, started a bit of a Fire, Water, Grass core, and yeah, I just thought it really synergized well with my team. I absolutely love Arcanine. It gets its self-recovery, it gets status, it gets Intimidate, and that honestly just helps my team so much. And it helps it on the bulky side, because like I said, I wanted things that can be offensive and defensive. And I'm really actually excited to use Arcanine this season for multiple reasons, and you'll see later in the draft I actually get some things that are going to allow Arcanine to be freed up from being the same role every single week. Season 1, when I had Arcanine, it was basically defensive every single week. Flare Blitz, Will-O-Wisp, Morning Sun, and coverage moves between like close combat, crunch, or whatever I needed. It was basically the same set every single week, and this season I think that's going to be a lot different, and we'll get to that as we get to future picks. So we are towards the end of the of the draft order, so there's only 8 picks between my 3rd and 4th round pick. Also, another reason I picked Arcanine is because I saw RTK building up a solid Fire, Water, Grass core of his own. He drafted Milotic and Shaman, and I was just looking at that, and I was just like, if Arcanine makes the way to him, and last to him, if he gets Milotic, Shaman, Arcanine in one core, there's no way that I will ever be able to forgive myself. Now, thankfully, Travesty was the pick before RTK, and he says that he would have picked Arcanine, you know, if it was available. So that would have been actually avoided, regardless of whether I picked it. But that was another reason. So moving on from that, though, I decided that I did want my grass type. So basically, in my initial draft plan, it was Mega Altaria and Jirachi both cover each other's strengths and weaknesses like pretty well. They both cover each other's weaknesses really well. The one that doesn't really get covered is ground. And because of that, I was just like, oh, bulky grass types can deal with ground. Things like Shaman, things like Tangrowth. Obviously, I've already said Shaman was drafted by RTK. And in round 4, before it came back to me, Tangrowth was taken by Travesty. 3 picks before me, there goes Tangrowth. So there goes Shaman and Tangrowth, probably the 2 best like mono grass types that there are. And then Amoonguss was taken. Amoonguss wasn't really on my sort of draft plan, but I started to notice a pattern. People are going to start taking grass types right now, and if I don't get a good grass type right now, I'm not getting a good grass type this draft. It's not happening. So I was looking around, and I was also, I'm trying to think, because at this point of the draft, Weezing was on my original draft plan, but the more I looked at it, I was just like, well, now I have Will-O-Wisp with Arcanine. I don't need the Will-O-Wisp from Weezing. I was like, maybe, because all the mono grass types are gone, maybe I can get a good grass poison type. Maybe instead of looking for more of a ground type switch in, we just kind of basically use this as something different. Like, alright, let's take a different approach to our grass type. And there was a mon that I saw available, and I was just like, you know what? I've heard really good things about this mon. I've seen it do a lot of work. Let's get it on our team. So with the 4th round pick, we pick up Roserade. Roserade I'm so excited to use because I know that it is powerful. Powerful. I don't remember everything that Roserade can do. I do know it can set up Toxic Spikes and regular spikes. It also has Leaf Seed and Sleep Powder. So I can do all sorts of cheeky shenanigans with that. Also, speaking of cheeky, Roserade's nickname is going to be Nando because apparently that is a Pokemon anime reference because Nando, I guess, had a Roserade. It's also a British thing reference, so we'll just pretend that Roserade is both a Pokemon and British for the duration of the season. And yeah, so Roserade has also good abilities. It has Technician, and it has another good ability that I don't remember what it is because I have not used Roserade very much. Basically, I haven't used Roserade. But it gets really good. It has a really high special attack stat. It's got decent speed, good special defense stat, so I can make use of things like Assault Vest if I need to be. You can also run defensive sets with Roserade. I know those are things that exist, but it's just really scary. Technician hidden powers are definitely nothing to shy away from. That literally means that Roserade can get every single type of coverage that it needs in the game. Basically meaning that if I can pull it off right, there may not be a safe switch into Roserade at all. So I'm really excited to use Roserade. It also is a way to take out fairies pretty easily. Super effective, hits anyway. And of course, you do know that I had Tangela last season. I brought Sleep Powder like every week. Sleep Powder is definitely a move that I will make use of if I feel like it makes sense. So yeah, so Roserade is on our team. Very happy about this. And there we go. So, with the next round pick, basically now what was going on is I was still kind of looking for what I wanted to do with my Steel type. So, Jirachi was gone, and I was just like, well, Bronzong's cool, but then I also was starting to think, I really want a Ghost type at some point. I really want, especially now that I have Roserade on, I'm able to set up hazards. I know I'm going to get, once I get a Steel type, I'll be able to set up Stealth Rocks. I was like, maybe I should have a really good spin blocker. So, I kind of want a Ghost type. And a Ghost type that actually caught my eye was Hoopa. But the thing with Hoopa, I was just like, well, that's part Psychic type. I was like, do I really want to get Bronzong that's also Psychic type and then just start adding on Psychic types? And I was just like, I don't know how I feel about that. I was like, well, maybe we can look at what other Steel types are available. At this point, even before picking Roserade, things like Escavalier and Forretress were being taken. Obviously, Jirachi got taken, and I feel like there was maybe one more. Scizor and Mega Scizor both got taken. Like, there's just a lot of Steel types that are being taken. And I was just like, there's not many great Steel types left. Exojo was also taken, now that I'm just kind of scrolling through. But a lot of Steel types were being taken. So I figured, now's the time to get my Steel type. And I kind of settled, I was just like, you know what? No one's drafted Cobalion yet. If Cobalion makes it back to me, I'm definitely going to pick it. Literally the turn, like 2 picks after I picked Roserade, Cobalion was taken, and I was just like, you know what? I was just like, if I don't take Steel type now, I'm not getting a good Steel type. So round 5, I picked Bronzong. Bronzong, I continually was looking at his stats, move pool, things like that to really confirm if it's something that I even wanted, and I decided that it is. It gets Stealth Rocks, of course. It gets Levitate, meaning that I am kind of alleviating a bit of the ground weakness that I've started to build up. I do have Gyro Ball, as well as being really slow, which is a really good combination. Psychic type is good. It gets Psychic moves. It does have okay offenses. Like, I think if I work around it well enough, I think I can be able to do some sort of damage output, and that should be okay. So, Bronzong, you know, is pretty good. Also, Bronzong's nickname is Metaton because I needed to work in an Undertale reference somewhere, so I'm really glad that my friend Michael was just like, hey, Bronzong has to be Metaton. So, obviously. So yeah, so we have our Stealth Rock, and we have Steel typing, we have a Psychic typing, and because we did end up getting Bronzong, I was just like, well, maybe I guess we're not going to get Hoopa now. Especially because we're starting to spend a lot of money on our budget, and I want to start getting a little bit cheaper. This season we did have a $110 million budget, and things were priced differently this season. Like, Megas weren't necessarily more expensive than regular Pokemon. They were all kind of ranked on the same scale. So I mean, at this point, Mega Terry was 18, Weavile 16, Arcanine 14, Rosary 13, and then Bronzong 8. So, you know, we are spending a decent chunk of money. So I was just like, well, there's cheaper ghost types that I can get. We'll worry about that a little later. But so Bronzong fulfilled a lot of needs for me. So, pretty happy about that. Then, round 16 round. So now, at this point, I actually really considered taking Sandslash really early in the draft because the Rapid Spinner that I really wanted was Donphan. And RTK, in the 4th round, picked Donphan. And the only, like, real backup to a Donphan is Sandslash, because Sandslash is the only other mono ground type that gets Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin. So it kind of can do some of the things that I wanted Donphan to do, and I just felt like it was my only backup. However, the more I looked at it, I was just like, okay, what am I really looking for? And at this point, I already had Stealth Rocks. What am I really looking for? Well, I'm really looking for a Rapid Spinner. So I was like, okay, let's expand the search. What other Rapid Spinners are available that aren't too expensive and that makes sense for our team? And after 5 complete rounds of drafting and 4 picks before me, there's one Pokemon that was still available that I was blown away that was still available. And I was just like, this can fit my team really well. And that Pokemon is Hitmontop. We picked up Hitmontop. I've heard nothing but good things from people who have used Hitmontop. I have personally never been a big Hitmontop fan, but I've heard nothing but good things about it, so maybe it's better than I've ever given it credit for. I like the fact that Hitmontop gets Intimidate, so that's a second Intimidate mon on our team, and this is one of the things that kind of opens up Arcanine to do other things. I can have Intimidate on Hitmontop and Flash Fire on Arcanine, and I can cover both those bases on the same team. You know, also if I feel like Arcanine's going to be better offensively without Intimidate, I have an Intimidate mon as a backup. It's perfect. So it works. Hitmontop also gives me more priority, things like Bullet Punch. Obviously gives me the Rapid Spin. This is another mon that gets Technician, so that's actually kind of interesting. We're building a bit of like a Technician offense core or something. I don't really know what you call that, but I'm really excited to use Hitmontop. It gets close combat, it gets decent coverage moves, so it's not the easiest thing to switch into for, like, given that it's a defensive mon, even without investment. Like, the same thing that applies to Flare Blitz from Arcanine without offensive investment, the same thing kind of applies to Hitmontop with close combat without investment. You know, it's still going to hurt regardless, so I'm really excited to use it. Hitmontop's nickname is Eddie Gordo. Shout out to Tekken, and the fact that when Hitmontop is on a Wi-Fi battle, it looks kind of like Eddie Gordo does in a Tekken battle. So, kind of works. It's actually a really good nickname in my opinion. Hitmontop was only 8 million also, so we have this nice little descending order of prices as we go on. And we got ourselves a fighting type, which is good because I didn't have a fighting type really in my draft plan at all. Well, the fighting type that, you know, I was planning on getting was Infernape or Emboar, or maybe then I started considering Blaziken, but then I just, you know, I kind of started running out of them. Also, by this point in the draft, I've completely thrown away my draft plan. Like, the things that were all my draft plan made sense given that I was getting my ideal draft. I wasn't getting my ideal draft. I was kind of starting to pick things that made sense but weren't on my draft plan. So it was just like a lot of the mons that were on my draft plan now, they're not as important to get because they don't work as well with the team I have now. They worked well with the team that I thought I was going to get. So, yeah, so Hitmontop was completely nowhere to be seen, nothing I ever even considered. But I saw it, I was just like, it's a fighting type, it's a rapid spinner, it's going to be really good. So, we got that. Now, I decided that now is the time. I'm kind of starting to plan towards the end of the draft, and I'm kind of looking at what's available, what are other people going to take, and I was like, you know what, no one's really taken a good ghost type yet. And I'm trying to think, I think actually one did get taken before I took mine, I'm not sure. This is the round that I do decide to get a ghost type, and I don't think actually anybody else had picked a ghost type. No, actually I don't think anybody did. So I was actually the first one to take a ghost type. I really wanted a good spin blocker, and I was just looking. So the cheap ghost types that I really started considering were either Mismagius or Cofagrigus. And I was deciding, okay, do I want more offense or defense? And a part of this pick was influenced by the fact that I, had just recently had a TBU match against Super Gassy, and he had a Cofagrigus on his team, and I was just like, you know what? That thing was a pain to plan for. I looked into its moveset. It gets a lot of annoying moves. And I was just like, you know what? This is the mon for us. So with the 7th pick, we picked Cofagrigus. Again, so right now, at this point in the draft, things like Sandslash or, a ground type was kind of being put on the back burner. I was just like, you know what? There's ground types that are left. We have money left. We'll work it in later. So I thought Cofagrigus was a really good mon to get. Cofagrigus' name is going to be Daddy because it makes other mons into mummies, and you know what? I just really want to hear people say, like, oh, Daddy switched in. You know what? It's okay. I have different type of humor or whatever. I don't know, but I think it's gonna be hilarious. I think it's a great name. So Cofagrigus, it is really fat, like really fat. It can take hits for days. If it's not a super effective hit, it's not taking out a Cofagrigus. If it is a super effective hit, it still probably isn't taking out Cofagrigus. But I mean, you can hope and pray. Mummy is going to help make sure that things' abilities go bye-bye, which is great because there are things like Azumarill in the league, and, Azumarill losing its huge power can save me a match. Or, I'm trying to find other ones. There are definitely other mons, like, I don't know, that's the main one that comes to mind just because that was a recent example of something that happened. But, at least for me at the time of recording this. But I know there's other stuff too, like if I can take people, like their abilities away, it's going to help me a lot. Also, Cofagrigus gets things like Destiny Bond, which is great, because even if I switch it on something that it can't do damage to, and if my opponent switches into something that can take out Cofagrigus, if I could go for like a Destiny Bond, okay, go ahead and go for that move that's going to take me out. You really want to take down your own Pokemon? Things like that. Also, another important thing is Cofagrigus gets Will-O-Wisp, which means I don't have to run Will-O-Wisp on Arcanine every single week if I don't want to. The fact that I have Will-O-Wisp on Cofagrigus, Intimidate on Hitmontop opens up all the possibilities for Arcanine now, which is fantastic, and it really started to create this really good team synergy that I've never quite drafted with before. I've drafted kind of like with synergy before, but I don't think I've ever had a team that has worked this well together and synergized this well together ever before. And Cofagrigus really helps with that. Really excited about the typing, things like that. I have a lot of switch-ins to dark type moves. I have dark resistances, and it's going to be fine. And there was really, the only offensive ghost that was drafted was Mismagius. So I don't really need to worry too much about having any sort of like ghost switch-ins, though I guess I do have those too. So I don't know, we'll see. That's a situational thing. But now we go into, alright, so now I plan these last 3 rounds. At this point of the draft, I have 26 million left. There are a couple things that I need. I want a ground type. I want an electric type. I want a bulky water. And I want whatever has not been drafted that people are going to regret not drafting. So, like, I kept this amount of money basically so I could just draft something broken at the end of the draft, because there's always things that slip through the draft that go undrafted that people are like, wow, I can't believe no one picked that, and I wanted to be the one to pick that. Like, that's basically what it came down to. So the backup, so my bulky water that I really wanted was Suicune. Suicune was taken in the 6th round by Alex, meaning I couldn't get that. My backup for Suicune was Rotom Wash, and I really got close to taking Rotom Wash instead of Cofagrigus. But I had to stop there and think, what do I need Rotom Wash for? Do I need Rotom Wash for, like, I don't need its utility, like I don't need Will-O-Wisp, I have that on Arcanine, and if I get Cofagrigus, I don't need Will-O-Wisp. I mean, Rotom gets dual screens, but I mean, I have a Bronzong that can do that too. Like, what am I really looking for in my bulky water? What am I really looking for in my electric type? Rotom Wash was also 14 million. That means after that pick, I would have 12 million left, including that and Cofagrigus. 12 million left. That's not a lot for the last couple picks. So I was just like, you know what? Let's move on from that. Let's get our ground type. Sandslash was still available. Let's take that. So with the 8th pick, I picked Sandslash. I wanted some sort of electric immunity. I don't want to just have teams be able to Volt Switch all over my face. Sandslash also, now that it doesn't have to be my main Stealth Rocker or my main Rapid Spinner, it's there as a backup for situational purposes. I don't expect Sandslash to show up to a lot of games, but when it does show up, it should put in work. If I had taken Sandslash earlier in the draft, it would be my main ground type. It would be my main Stealth Rocket, or yeah, it would be my main Stealth Rocket and my main Rapid Spinner. It doesn't need to be any of those things. It needs to be a ground type that can switch into electric hits and a backup to both of those, and I can just do any sort of Sandslash shenanigans that I want. It was also only 6 million, so I was just like, you know what, it's a really good ground type, and it's good for what it does, because I wanted a second Rapid Spinner, and I wanted a second Stealth Rocker. Of course, I could have gotten a lot of ground types that could get Stealth Rocks, but none other left that I wanted got Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin. So we got Sandslash. I'm really happy about Sandslash. Sandslash's name is Mickey because it's a mouse, which doesn't make sense, but Sandslash is a mouse apparently. Check Bulbapedia. So yeah, that's Sandslash. Pretty basic. I think it's, honestly, out of all my picks, it's probably the one that's going to show up the least. I don't want to say it's the worst pick necessarily, but it's definitely probably going to put in the least work. Maybe it'll surprise me. We'll see. Then we go to my last 2 picks. I have 20 million. Now, I guess I could have a team of 11, but right now I was looking at a team of 10 because I just wanted an electric type, a water type, and then something broken. There's a lot of different combinations that I could have went with this, but I basically decided, you know what? Rotom Wash is a water type and an electric type, and it's cool. But I wonder if there's another Pokemon that is also a water and electric type. Huh. Well, I kind of looked, and there might be one that does kind of exist, but we're going to come back to that because I had already decided on what that water/electric type is going to be. With that in mind, I looked at the remaining budget that I have. I have 15 million to spend on anything that's available. Anything. Looking at my team, I was just like, you know what? Roserade's the only real special attacker that I have that can be reliable offensive mon every time. I have other mons that can attack specially, like Arcanine does get Fire Blast, like Mega Altaria does get Hyper Voice, but do I really want to do that every week? Well, I don't know. So I decided to look more on the special wall breaker side that could also have physical coverage or be a physical wall breaker if I needed to be. And with the 9th round pick, I decided to pick Hydreigon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Hydreigon went undrafted the entire draft and probably would not have been picked if I did not pick it. Hydreigon. This thing, dark, dragon, bulky. Like, you do not just take out Hydreigon, like, really easily unless it's with a fairy move. And HP Fairy doesn't exist, so you can't even just have that. Like, it's hard to take out Hydreigon. It gets Roost, it gets Draco Meteor, it gets Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Earth Power. There is so few switch-ins to Hydreigon. It also gets U-Turn. Another thing I was kind of noticing on my team is that I have a Weavile and like kind of frail mons like that without a reliable way to get into them. Hydreigon gets U-turn. I can U-turn on something trying to switch into Hydreigon, then I get a safe switch into Weavile. Add that on to the fact that I also plan on getting an electric type, that gives me another way to try and do the same thing. Hydreigon is just a really big offensive threat, can be used defensively should the situation permit that it does so. And I'm really, really happy that I got on my team. I'm really happy that everybody just didn't draft it. I would have left it to my last pick just to be like, hey, I'm going to end the draft off with Hydreigon, if it weren't for the fact that Alex Bennett had also gotten to this point and he did not draft a dragon. By the 9th round, he had not picked a dragon, and I was just like, you know what, if I don't pick Hydreigon, he might pick it. Now, it turns out he actually ended up picking Kyurem, and I think he would have picked Kyurem regardless of what I did, but I couldn't risk it, so I took Hydreigon. Now, of course, we get to our 10th round pick, our last pick. We have 5 million left on our budget. There's a Mon that is water and electric and is 5 million, and that is Lantern. Lantern is back, ladies and gentlemen, for the second straight season. We did end up trading it towards the end of the season last year, but I really, really enjoyed Lantern the time that I had it. So the thing that Lantern helps with is that it also has an electric immunity. So now I don't have to rely on Sandslash to be the only thing that can switch into Volt Switch. I also have Lantern. Lantern, I noticed last season team building, it really messes with people's team building because they have to plan for a Volt Absorb or Water Absorb Lantern. Lantern can also help me absorb Scalds, so I don't need to worry about Weavile getting burned. I don't need to worry about like Hitmontop getting burned. Things like that. Like, obviously it can still happen, but I have a safe switch into Lantern if I decide to go Water Absorb, or I can stop Volt Switches if I decide to go Volt Absorb. Lantern is such a good mon. It also gives me a bit more special defense. A lot of my defensive mons are better on the physical side than the special side, so I decided to get Lantern because it was really good on the special side. Lantern also has Heal Bell, giving it the second mon on my team that has Heal Bell, meaning that Mega Altaria does not have to be pinned down to that role. That gives Mega Altaria more freedom to reign. Also, Hydreigon gives Mega Altaria more freedom to reign. If I think that Dragon Claw, Outrage, or whatever that Mega Altaria can do is going to tear through someone's team, but I also think that Draco Meteor and Special Coverage can do work, I have both options. I don't need to force Mega Altaria into a role that it isn't going to be the best at just because it's my only dragon. And because of that, Mega Altaria gets free reign to do whatever I need it to do. Arcanine has gotten free reign to do whatever it needs to do, and Lantern can do its thing, which it does its thing really well. And Hydreigon is just going to be like really helpful for offense and things like that. Like, it's so to think that I ended up getting this type of team synergy. I am just blown away that I don't want to just like sit here and toot my own horn, but like I'm really proud of myself that I was able to draft a team that synergizes this well. This is the best team that I've drafted, hands down. I don't even think anybody else will argue that, because for the first time, I've had people look at everyone's drafts and and like they'll say, oh, you know what, Sly's team is actually kind of scary. That's never happened before. We are always the underdog. We are always the person that drafts, kind of odd, oh, that's a weird draft, that's not that good, I mean, everybody else, a lot of other people's are better, things like that. That's not happening. This season, a lot of people drafted well. Everybody drafted well. But I feel like people are still noticing us as a threat. This is going to be something different, a new experience this season. Season 1, no league experience. Expected to do literally nothing. I had no expectations of myself. Nobody else even knew who I was, or most of the people didn't know who I was, and had no expectations of me doing well. And then I didn't do that well. I did okay, but I didn't do great. Last season, people still underestimated me. People still thought, hey, you know what, Sano's not that great. There's a lot of other people in the PPL that are better. Whatever. We were underdogs. We were able to take that underdog card, use that to our advantage. We were able to be like, hey, they're not expecting much of us. Let's go after them and do this. This season, that's not happening. People know that I'm not terrible. I don't know that people really expect me to win the PPL. I don't know that anybody expects anybody to win the PPL. It's going to be a really competitive season. But I don't think people are expecting me to go to D2 next season. You know what I mean? So like, I don't think people are expecting that from me. People expect me. I finished 4th last season, and I think people expect me to do at least decent, if not better. And I am putting those expectations on myself as well, as I expect to do better than last season. That is the expectation I have for myself, and I really intend to do that. So, this is the Pittsburgh Pyroar Season 3 team. Mega Altaria, Weavile, Arcanine, Roserade, Bronzong, Hitmontop, Coffergigas, Sandslash, Hydreigon, Lantern. GG to everyone else who is going to try and take down this team, because I am not going to go down very easily. This team is not going to go down very easily. If we go down at all, we are going to run through this league if I can help it. We have a lot of tough competition out there. Week 1, this Saturday, we play Necrostevo and the Eternal City Enders. We, for the first time in franchise history, are going to start the season off with a win. That's something we've never done, but that is going to change right now. We have a different mindset. We have a different attitude. We are winners. We are champions, and we are going to prove that this season. And anybody that is going to try and stop us are obstacles that we are just going to completely obliterate, throw out of our way, on our way to the championship of Season 3 of the PPL. So, hopefully you guys are as excited about this team as I am. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below on what you think and your favorite names. I also totally didn't tell you the nicknames that Hydreigon is called Deltamon because Digimon is cool. Lantern is called Kim Jong-un because Google the type of fish that Lantern is and figure it out for yourself. And that's going to be everything. My mind is just going crazy right now because I'm so hyped. Hope you guys are as hyped as I am. Let me know if you are in the comment section below. Before I get out of breath and before I die from not breathing, I will see you guys on the next video. If I missed anything, then I'm sorry. Go ahead, ask questions, comments below. There will probably be links to PPL Twitter and stuff in the description, and it'll all be super fun times and great. We ended up with like 4 mons that were on our draft plan, and everything else we just kind of threw together. We had a great team. Let's do this. Let's do this. If you're supporting the Pittsburgh Pyroar, let me know. I'm going to stop rambling. I will see you guys on the next video. So thanks for watching, guys, and until the next time, stay sly.